Good morning. How you feeling, buddy? It is day 2. Let's do this thing. Craft Computing's coverage of CES 2020 is brought to you by Patriot, Thermaltake, and Fractal Design. First stop of day 2, we are here at the Patriot Suite in the Bellagio Hotel, CES 2020. Patriot's introducing a couple of brand new products. We're going to start off with their gaming mice. They have the V551 and the V550. The V551 is a right-handed ergonomic mouse. Sorry lefties, you're going to have to sit this one out. But it's aimed at first-person shooters. It has a couple of thumb buttons as well as an additional button on your pointer finger. Through the Viper software, the DPI does scale all the way up to 12,000. It should be available very shortly, and pricing on that is about $60. Next up, we have the ambidextrous mouse, the V550, so everyone's welcome to join this party. Being an ambidextrous mouse, it does have 2 buttons on either side of the mouse. However, through the software, you can disable that if you want to avoid some accidental clicks. Availability, again, should be very soon, and this one's priced just a little bit cheaper at $55. One thing I did find up here that I didn't expect to be excited about, but here we are, is actually the new V380 gaming headset. It is a wired 7.1 surround sound headset. The thing that most intrigues me about this is actually the lightweight design of the headset. There's pretty much no weight on your head at all, and being a glasses wearer, it wasn't pinching my frames or wanting to remove my glasses entirely. They say availability should be happening later this week and priced at $89. I will certainly be trying to get a hold of one of these. Now, I've long been a fan of the Patriot SSDs, and they are coming out with a couple new ones this year in what they're calling the Year of SSD. Starting with the P300, it's an M.2 Gen 3 by 4 SSD. The P300 is going to be available in capacities up to 2 terabytes with read speeds of 2100 and write speeds as fast as 1650 megabytes per second. Availability should be sometime in Q1, with pricing starting at $130 going up to $305 for the 2 terabyte model. Next up is the VPR100, and Patriot is claiming this is the world's first RGB-enabled PCI Express NVMe M.2 drive. And they're not just using the heatsink to pull this off with some USB headers coming to the motherboard as has been the norm before. They actually use software through the bus to control the RGB, which I am a huge fan of, reducing the cable waste. This is also a Generation 3x4 drive with read speeds as fast as 3300 megabytes per second and writes as fast as 2900 megabytes per second. Again, availability is to be determined, but they're expecting sometime in Q1. Prices start at $93 going up to $440 for the 2 terabyte capacity. And last but not least, I actually forgot about one of the gaming mice. It's right here behind me. This is the Viper V570, and this is going to be one of their new premium gaming mice. This is kind of a crossover between an MMO and a first-person shooter mouse. Rather than having the 12 or 15 buttons that some of the higher-end mice do, this one just went with, it looks like a set of 6 buttons, including one sniper button right down here on the thumb, which I really appreciate. This one does have adjustable weights inside of it and does have a very, very nice ergonomic feel to it, but again, sorry, right-handers only apply. This is going to be available shortly, but they weren't all that forthcoming with pricing on it. And finally, for the overclocking junkies in my crowd, I know who you are. I saved the best for last. This right here is the test bench that was used to set the world DRAM speed record. Now, obviously, we don't have the exotic nitrogen cooling that they were using at the time to set that record, but this is using the Patriot Viper SteelSeries 4400 megahertz memory. This is a pretty fantastic kit. I was blown away by the performance on my own rig that I got with it. However, they were able to achieve on the X599 platform here a speed of 4033 megahertz, which doesn't sound all that impressive, but keep in mind the latency is only at 1428. That's insane. We are here at the Gigabyte booth, and they do have a couple of interesting products. First and foremost, they are expanding their Designaire product line. That includes a couple of new motherboards for the X299 platform, including the Designaire X, which has a built-in water block for both the CPU and the heatsink. And up here is the TRX40 Designaire, but that's really not what I'm interested in right now. What I'm interested in from Gigabyte is actually the products that they're going along with the Designaire series. Starting with this guy right here. This is actually a RAID controller NVMe drive. Thank you, Adam. Adam, everyone. Starting with this guy right here, this is actually an NVMe RAID controller with 4 Gen 3 NVMe drives on it. Now, they are selling this right now as a 2 terabyte module with 4 512 gig SSDs on it. However, they were telling me that with a slight controller change, you could actually load this up with 2 terabyte drives, making this an 8 terabyte NVMe RAID. Absolutely insane performance. The other thing is this has a RAID controller on board. What that means is you no longer have to rely on Windows or your BIOS to be able to assign a RAID to an NVMe drive. This being a RAID controller means that it will be recognized as a boot device by your system regardless of how your chipset PCIe lanes are routed. So very, very cool tech, and definitely something that creators like myself and Epos Vox, as his speed-crazed mind for NVMe, definitely like to see. They're also coming out with some Designaire memory. Now, these right here are 32 gigabyte DIMMs of 3200 megahertz memory. So a little bit of performance and a lot of capacity made specifically for the Designaire platform. Now, not a lot of people need 128 gigs or 256 gigs on the new Threadripper box here, but Gigabyte feels that they need to be supporting creators a little bit better. This is one of the new steps to do that. And the last little bit of interesting tech here, just kind of tossed off to the side, is a new water-cooled GPU. Now, this doesn't look all that extraordinary, but this is a 2080 Super. Now, a lot of their 2080 Super cards get the RS branding, get the premium branding with all the nickel plating and all that kind of goodness. This is aimed at being a budget enthusiast card. It's a full 2080 Super. You get the full 8 gigs of GDDR6, you get all of the performance and Tensor and RTX cores. However, instead of being about $1,100 to $1,300, they're aiming this for between the $800 and $900 market. Now, you don't get all the bling and glitz with this. It is just a plastic shroud. There's no nickel plating on the top of it. But the card is nice and lightweight, and at the end of the day, $300 is $300. So you can get top-tier performance and save a little bit of money. In the spirit of collaboration, I figured I would try back in the hotel room the Epos Vox camera angle. Tell me what y'all think down in the comments.
Was it enough just to look like me?
Visiting the Zotac studio today, one of the more impressive announcements, at least for me, was the announcement of the Inspire Studio Z-Box. This is going to be a very compact box with actually a lot of ramifications for content creators who don't want to build their own systems. The Inspire Studio is going to contain an i7-9700 processor, 8 cores and 8 threads at up to 4.7 GHz in boost speed, 32 GB of DDR4 memory, and up to a 512 GB NVMe M.2 storage drive and a 2 TB hard drive. The video card is going to be handled by an RTX 2060 Super, and at the time there's no plans to release any other specs for the system. However, if the project is successful, they will expand and offer build-to-order options. Other standard features are going to include a Wi-Fi 6 killer AX1650, Bluetooth 5.0, and 2 gigabit LAN ports. Now you might ask yourself what's so special about this box. Well, Zotac has submitted this box to NVIDIA for certification in their Studio program, which means if approved, they will be able to install Studio drivers by default from the factory. That means more stability and reliability for creators like you. Pricing is not yet finalized, but they expect to have the Inspire Studio in consumers' hands by the end of Q1. A couple quick bits of news out of EVGA. First and foremost, they are expanding their new audio cards and including a 7.1 expansion card for their existing stereo setup. They also announced a new card in their RTX 2060 family of cards called the RTX 2060 KO. The interesting thing about this card is it does still include a backplate, dual fan design, and this card is going to be available for only $299, making it one of the cheapest RTX 2060s on the market. And we finished the day over at the Asus suite, and Asus actually had a number of interesting announcements, starting first and foremost with one of my favorite laptops I have seen announced in a number of years. It's called the ROG Zephyrus G14, and it's sporting AMD's recently announced 4800U 8-core 16-thread processor in a 35-watt package. With that high power, yet still low power CPU at the heart of it, it's still going to offer up to 10 hours of battery life in a very thin 14-inch package. Configuration options include a 1080p panel at 120Hz or a 1440p panel at 60Hz, both of which have adaptive sync, although it hasn't been revealed which technology, G-Sync or FreeSync. I'm going to assume FreeSync here. Up to 32 gigabytes and 1 terabyte of NVMe storage is available on the laptop as well. Now, there is no firm price set on this laptop, but availability should be near the end of Q1. While there's a lot of brains inside this laptop, there's also a little bit of flair to it, namely the 1200 individually addressable LEDs on the front. Now, these are not RGB LEDs, but they are individually addressable and can play animations or display just about any image you would ever want on the front of it, making marketing or branding on your laptop very easy. Software will be included to customize the look, and you can buy the laptop with or without the LED panel. The LED panel does add a slight amount of weight, about 0.1 kilograms. And if you guys have followed my channel for any amount of time, you know I absolutely love my LG 43UD79 43-inch 4K display. It is 4K, 43 inches of absolute 10-bit calibrated goodness, and I love the thing to death, at least when it comes to content productivity. Where the screen falls a bit short for me is in gaming and in general use, and that is where Asus is going to step in and offer their all-new 43-inch 4K panel themselves, called the PG43UQ. This is an all-new 43-inch 4K gaming monitor with a 144Hz refresh rate and G-Sync built in. It offers 10-bit color, 2 HDMI 2.0 ports, 2 DisplayPort 1.4s, and a USB 3.0 hub built in. Pricing on this monitor is going to be about $1,500, which when you consider all the specs that there are on paper, that's actually not a bad deal, although stay tuned to this channel for hopefully a review on that panel, and it will be available again near the end of Q1. And that is going to do it for day 2 coverage here at CES 2020. Thanks again so much for watching this one. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.